How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today's video we are looking at the next steps for Wargaming and what Wargaming console are focusing on doing for this new game. We're going to talk about what actually they're looking at currently, and then we're going to go into what the actual things that they're working on or actually looking at doing in the near future, what's actually coming to the game on World of Tanks console, and obviously have a look at and give our own opinion as to what I think. Make sure that you do the same, put it in the comment section down below, as I will be feeding back all of this to Wargaming themselves, and then we can move on and try and make World of Tanks console somewhat better than it currently is. I'm finding it a little bit boring to actually play, but it will actually get better, I think, in the future, and when some of the bugs and some of the actual ways that are currently implemented into the game actually get changed, and hopefully this update that comes in very, very soon will actually do that. Now, the first thing that we need to talk about is obviously the Cold War economy. Wargaming have said that they're going to be monitoring this, both in terms of the silver and XP. They're also going to be looking at the free XP is something that they've never displayed before. So that's why 10% of tank XP it appears low every single game. Now, in terms of the monitoring, how much modules cost and the earn rates for both silver and XP, I think what Wargaming's strategy is to do recently is actually do it like World of Warships. They've got a very similar economy in terms of, yes, you complete the tank, you get enough research to get the next one, but you just have another grind then to get the silver to fully upgrade your tank. My main problem with the whole research and spending silver on these tanks is that if you're playing in the base model on each of the era, so the very bottom one, if you're playing bottom tier, there is no reason why you should ever continue playing that tank. You're not even worth upgrading it. You should just move on to the next one, obviously, unless you're trying to 3-mark it, but then move on to the next tank. Once you've done that, you can then upgrade the next one, and then when you get to the top one, that's the one I would recommend fully upgrading, because obviously you're going to be top tier every single game because of the era based system. In terms of when you play in the top one, you will never come up against anyone else. It's like playing tier 10 on the World War II game mode. So remember, if you're going to be playing the Cold War game mode, then you want to actually focus on that. As far as the other things that they've talked about in terms of the economy, they're going to be looking at trying to get more information, since at the time of when they posted this, it's been only 3 days since the update, and when we're talking about it, it's been like 5 days. Now, silver earn rate does increase the higher the players progress in the Cold War tech tree, so you will actually earn more silver in the higher tiers. That, however, does not really make up for the fact that you're still never going to be able to get enough as a premium tank at tier 8 in the World War II game mode within these modern tanks. So yes, you might be able to pick up an extra 20k silver in a game if you play the higher tiers. But then again, you're going to be having to fire a lot more premium in the higher ones because of the actual increases in armor and the effective armor of the higher tier tanks. So yes, the economy, you might be able to earn a little bit more silver, but you'll also be spending a hell of a lot more silver as it becomes more competitive and everyone's firing premium, and or they're also having to fire or use consumables as well. So I think that that's something that Wargaming need to really kind of focus on fixing. I did a poll. I know it's probably the vocal minority, but the people voted on the poll. I think it was like 1.3 thousand people voted on it, about how the silver economy is. They wanted it to actually be reduced, the upgrade cost. 94% of people voted that. So yeah, you can see a massive difference in that. Although it is only a small section of the community, obviously Wargaming aren't going to take too much into account, but they really should, and that is certainly an area of the game that I think is actually putting people off, because, you know, 1.1 million just for an upgrade is crazy. That's more than some of the tier 7s in the, or tier 6s in the game. Really, really crazy amount of silver to be spending on just an upgrade, especially when it's a bottom tier tank that you're never really going to play once it's upgraded. And so, yeah, I think that's a big problem. Now, a lot of people have also had problems with the console performance. Obviously, that comes in the form of actual, like, their console cannot handle this new game mode. There's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of problems with that, and I think a lot of actual players that join on and they're playing in their various different tanks are encountering errors, freezing, the game having just worse FPS. I've noticed that myself. It seems very, very clunky and shuddery in some places on certain maps, and I'm really hoping that that kind of gets actually fully monitored and they're looking into ways to optimize it for the older Xbox and PlayStation consoles, because remember, the majority of your players probably still play on those Xbox One or the PlayStation 4, so make sure that when they're actually doing some testing that they do focus on doing it on the older consoles, because if they can do it on the older ones, they're probably more than likely to be able to cope on the newer ones. Now, a definite big thing within this recent update was the traction and powertrain equipment in World War II, how that actually is performing in the current game mode of the standard game, I should say, like, you know, the one that we've been playing for the last 6 or 7 years, however long the game has actually been out. But this is one of the actual key points I'd like to highlight, and currently it is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that you can put on both traction and powertrain to tanks such as the Snakebite, you've got the T-50-2, you've got your light tanks that can go 70 kilometers an hour, can now be boosted up to like 85 kilometers an hour in game. That is very, very similar to the EBRs on PC, World of Tanks PC. Obviously, they didn't go down very well, and they're actually really not balanced in any kind of way at all, to be honest with you. And I feel like what they've done is they've just made all of the light tanks in the current game, if they put on this equipment, the exact same. They are very, very annoying to play against. It's not a case of that they're super overpowered in terms of the way that they actually play, but the fact you cannot hit them very reliably. Even if you're a really good player, it's very hard to hit something that is going 90 kilometers an hour, especially if they're moving around, and since the actual equipment gives them an increase to the traverse speed of everything that they have, and also the mobility of it in terms of side to side and turning, it means that you're actually ending up with a tank that's faster, it can turn faster, it can literally do everything that it previously did, but better as in terms of a light tank. It doesn't have to poke for very long, you're not risking very much, you can out-traverse heavy tanks, which, you know, don't really get very much of an increase when you play them from that boost. So, you know, I think it was mainly implemented in terms of for heavy tanks in order to get them up to speed and to kind of get them a bit more mobile for those of you who are playing stuff like the Maus and tanks like that. However, it's being abused, and it's being used by many of the light tank players, including myself, to be able to have some ridiculous games where you genuinely cannot get hit. And when I'm playing in the T-50-2, I've had multiple games where I've not taken a single shot and I've done 2,500 damage, dealing 1,500 assistance in the same game. Crazy, crazy games, and certainly something that I think will have to be changed. And my personal spin on it would be to actually make the equipment only available to heavies, mediums, and tank destroyers, and anything that has a super high speed in the first place, stuff like the Hellcat 105, because not only can you put it on light tanks, you can put it on fast tank destroyers like the Hellcat 105 to get up to 75 kilometers an hour in the Hellcat. Now, that is absolutely disgusting. It makes the tank just horrible to play for the opponents, because they're having to deal with not only a tank that has broken gun, but when it can mobilize itself across the map, makes it a real problem. And I'm certainly hoping that Wargaming take this into account. They actually act on what people are giving their feedback, because yes, the statistics like they currently put on screen right now saying that current tanks like the Vanguard have an increased lifetime, but the win rate and survivability are the same. That's probably a statistic that doesn't really matter, because when you think about it, people are probably YOLOing in a lot more because of the speed, and they can get away with it if they're getting away with it by YOLOing in and making silly plays, but the win rate and survivability are playing the same. then that means that if someone plays more passively, like a light tank should, and actually plays it properly, it's obviously going to have an increased win rate and survivability. So taking a statistic at this time is not a good suggestion, and it would certainly be something that you want to look at when the novelty wears off and players aren't just YOLOing in to test out their speed on the various different maps. So I think that definitely needs to be something that Wargaming are thinking about for the next month. Checking out the stats nearer the end of the month. If you take the initial one, obviously it's going to be skewed. You haven't got very much data, and I definitely think that they'll actually find out that these are making light tanks perform exponentially better on those that actually equip the traction and powertrain equipment. Because remember as well that not everyone will have put that on. If people haven't seen how effective this is, they're not going to have known to do it, and therefore they're not going to be able to increase that win rate and survivability that will be seen within the stats. Now, in terms of things that are in the work in progress and also being worked on by Wargaming in order to come up with some suggestions and make improvements to the game, we currently have a few different things that you can see on screen. We're going to go through each one. We're going to kind of give you more details and see how that relates to the actual in-game content and what it will basically be effective. So the first thing is commanders. Now, commanders are currently being worked on in terms of being able to have filters so that you can actually find your commander easier. This is something that is super, super crucial, and it's so annoying to be able to pick a commander quickly. I mean, yes, it doesn't take a super amount of time, but the UI could 100% be better, and I'm glad that they are working towards that, because that is something I would have personally wanted at the beginning of Update 6.0 when commanders got changed. I don't know why nobody thought of that at Wargaming as far as when the new Update 6.0 actually got released. Hopefully that will be something that comes very, very soon and within the next couple of weeks, because it's taken them forever to be able to actually do this. They've been saying that it's been a work in progress for a long, long time now, and it should definitely be in the game as soon as possible. As part of this, commander customization was also talked about, and the team is looking into possible kind of a configuration for this, so where you can alter the crew voice and stuff like it previously was before Update 6.0. It's one of those things that Wargaming took out of the game, because obviously taking stuff out of the game that people already liked and then putting it back into the game makes total sense, because I don't know why it was removed in the first place, but Wargaming obviously doing their own thing as far as the console version of World of Tanks. Hopefully that will be back in the game within the next, saying as though they're just looking at possible consideration in the future. The future for World of Tanks console could be months. Now, I'm not even joking, it could be 3 months before they implement some sort of customization for your commander, and hopefully maybe we'll actually get that or a bit more information as to the timeline for that. They will also be doing unique voices for commanders in the future, so like they previously were, and about allowing custom sound packs and recordings. That's not been confirmed, don't know how that will work. It will probably be in the form of using a USB stick on your PlayStation or your Xbox One or Xbox Series S, whacking that onto your console, and then it will kind of read from the file as to the custom sound or whatever. Or maybe it will be you upload it onto the Wargaming website and then it will kind of download it into your game, or some sort of cloud feature that will enable that. Whether that's kind of nice to be able to have that, and it will be cool to actually have it for your effects like 6 cents popping off and all of the various different things like that. That will be perfect. Would be an extra little bit of thing to have into the game, but it's not something I want being focused on, because there's plenty of other things that I would want to see. So there's also talk about upgraded maps. We've got Westfield and Scorpion Pass were being talked about. We hinted at possibly when they'd be released. Now, I think that this won't be too long until they are actually released, by what they were saying on the actual stream when they talked about all of this different stuff. I hope that this is within the next couple of within the next month, I'd say, or at the start of the next season. I think it won't be too long before we start seeing Westfield and Scorpion Pass back, and I'd really like to see them because Westfield was one of my favourite maps in the game. Scorpion Pass was a bit of a boring one to play, but I actually personally didn't find it too bad, so hopefully you guys, if you haven't actually played either of them, you'll be in for a massive treat with the two maps that will be coming back at some point soon. Then we have the T55A. There's been a few requests for the T55A to work in both World War II and Cold War, so instead of it just being a Cold War tank, it will actually work in terms of the World War II, so you can play it on either one. The team is actually looking into doing this for everyone, so if you bought the T55A, you might be able to actually play it in World War II very soon. Now, unfortunately, for some reason, people are thinking that smoke in World War II would actually be a really good system. For me personally, it's not something I want to see. I don't really think it would work very well. The True Vision system kind of suits this whole smoke, but the actual normal system I don't think would actually work very well. I'm not completely against it because it could be a good addition to the game as part of an update. But I think that for me personally, I don't really want to see that kind of consumable on the World War II mode. I think it's absolutely fine as it is with regards to consumables like that. I think there's certainly room that you could put extra consumables onto World War II that do various different things. Like if you could maybe have a consumable that reloads maybe a little bit faster, or it gives you some sort of benefit, like it increases your penetration for 10 seconds, so maybe it will increase it by 10%, and the passive bonus would give you an increase of penetration by say 10% for the whole game, and then you could increase it or something very similar. So it'd be situational. If you want to use that, it would have a cooldown like the standard ones. I think that would be cool to see in the game. Obviously, having more diverse stuff in the game is obviously very good. Means that you can have lots more builds and lots more unique content that you can have within the various different tanks that you play. Stops the meta of the game, which is what most people play and what is actually the best or most competitive in the game. That's what meta is. So the meta of the game currently is obviously having mobility and having big alpha, or at least the potential to have big alpha. Like autoloaders tend to be very good in the game if you know how to play them, and certainly they're kind of, I hope that some more consumables come in to make some of the tanks that maybe got left behind within the current meta, to be able to bring them up to par with the current kind of tanks that are being used right now. Now, a really controversial topic with regards to Cold War is that they're actually looking at maybe bringing in artillery in Cold War. People have actually requested for this in the game mode to stop the camping that's been going on recently, and where lots of people are just sat on a hill and they're just staying there for the whole game, not moving up, because to be honest with you, what is the point in moving up? Because you might as well just use cover, pull out when you need to, take shots at people that are pushing up, because you can just sit there and you can farm them. There's no real negative for staying still in this game mode, and therefore people are asking for artillery or some form of stuff like that. Wargaming have said that they will not be considering this at this time for the Cold War game mode, and therefore I doubt that this will actually ever happen, since the Cold War game mode was the big feature, being that artillery would not be in the Cold War game mode. So I don't know what will happen with that. Maybe Wargaming will have a look at the games, see what's going on in the near future, and then maybe later on down the line, in a couple months' time, they'll actually potentially look at introducing artillery, as long as people actually wanted that, and I doubt that they will. Now, apparently the team is looking into ranked battles for World of Tanks console. They're looking at bringing it back, basically. They're saying that they don't know what the best way to bring it back is. I think that that's kind of a little bit misleading. I think they know exactly how to bring it back, but they're just trying to say that they're kind of looking at ways to bring it back. It's like, whilst they're developing all of the various different things that they've got going on right now, I think that that's just a way of saying that, they're not going to work on it until they've started fixing some of the other stuff in the game, and then maybe they'll look at actually bringing it back as it was. I don't think that there was any problem with ranked battles as it was previously in the game. in the form of it being in a separate multiplayer, where it would just be, if you want to play ranked battles, you can go on, you can play that against other ranked people, where you go through different ranks. The higher the rank, the more players you come up against that have probably got more experience. You get rewards for getting to a certain rank, and if you maintain yourself at a certain rank, you'll continue to do well, and I think that that's something that people are looking at currently. Another thing that Wargaming have been currently working on constantly for World of Tanks, apparently for the last couple of months, if not like since the update 6.0's release, when they said that mercenary tanks would be coming into the game again. Now they've said it once again in this update that they will be coming again soon. It's been like 5 months, Wargaming. You can't say that they're coming soon if it's been 5 months since you first ever said that. They're saying that contracts are still being worked on, which means that they've not actually finished them, which means they've not done any testing, which means that they've not actually properly done it yet. So I expect that it won't be coming soon. It will probably be like a month or two, maybe at the start of the next season is when I'm expecting that the contracts will probably come back, which is in like 2 months' time. Yeah, I think that Wargaming kind of saying that it'll be coming soon, but more than likely it won't be until a lot longer. Obviously, the mercenary tanks are something that give you or it gives you something to actually do in the background, and I think that it would be a great addition to have this grind that you can do with the various different mercenary tanks. Obviously they're already in the game, so we won't talk about the controversial aspect of the mercenary tanks with the machine being so overpowered in the game, and also the various different other tier 6 and tier 5 tanks that are just ridiculous comparatively to the other tier tanks at that tier. Now I think that mercenary contracts will give you something to do. It will be long term, so it's not something you do in a week. It's something that may take you a month, and generally they have a time limit to them. Maybe I think it's like 60 days, or it might even be 3 months that the tier 10 contracts are out, and then as you go down through the tiers, the actual contract length gets smaller, and also the requirements to complete the contracts are also smaller. So obviously the tier 10s require maybe 1 million XP for you to be able to earn it through various different challenges, and they kind of work like the personal missions on PC, and maybe that's something that Wargaming can maybe look at in the future, is getting in some sort of personal missions feature like this. Now the final 2 things for this is the post-battle result screen improvements. Obviously the FAF, or the post-battle results screen that they gave us, was terrible. It just tells you the amount of commander XP you get. Like, what's the point in that? It already told you at the end of the game. They've just given you a screen where it just tells you how much silver you've spent. I mean, that's not what people wanted. They wanted the performance tab, and now they have said that they are going to be working on the performance tab, and is a priority to return to the game. Being able to see how much damage done/received is important to the community. How many times do we have to tell you that this is something that everybody wanted at the beginning of the update 6.0, which was 4 months ago now, well, more than that, maybe nearly 5 months, and still that they have only just recognised how much people actually wanted the statistics, being able to see which tanks you've damaged in game. We also want to be able to see the mark percentage that we have got. We also want to be seeing other various different things in the game relating to the performance, how much silver you earn, how much ammunition you spent. Obviously that's in currently, but we wanted more. We wanted in terms of the accuracy of you during that game. We wanted the damage standing every single game, no matter whether you actually have your first mark or not. I wanted that in the game regardless, and unfortunately Wargaming just haven't delivered on that yet, and hopefully they will do very, very soon as part of the next update coming to World of Tanks console. So I really hope that that is something that they are actually prioritising for its return, because it is very, very essential for the older players and also new players, because it is something extra. It gives you a little bit of feedback as to how well you played. Did you miss a lot of shots? Did you fire a lot of shots? Did you get unlucky with the amount of shots that you fired? All stuff that you really want to see, and what modules you damaged on enemy tanks and stuff like that. It was always cool to see and have a look. Then the final thing within this update is the map rotation. Map rotation is currently set at timed intervals, so the map is changed every 4 minutes. Looking for feedback on this, so every single 4 minutes it will re-swap to a different map. Everyone will play on that map, so it might be that, you know, Prokhorovka is the map that everyone's playing. After the 4 minutes up, it will change to a different map. Every 4 minutes that map gets rotated, and so it stops you from being able to actually play the same map twice. That means that most people are never going to be able to play the same one unless your game lasts like 2 minutes, which is very, very unusual. And even then, you add in the queue times and the loading time into the game and stuff like that. It's very, very rare that you'd be able to actually go into a game, complete the game, finish a game, search for another game and get into the same map within 4 minutes. So it's working quite well for me personally. I'm enjoying the map rotation a little bit better than it previously was. Certainly could do with a lot more maps though, and that's something I really do hope that they'll be looking at doing for World of Tanks console in the future. Other than that, there's only a couple things left in terms of the Twitch stream, so if you want to tune in to have a look at the news directly, we've got a few different things. Well, on Monday the 3rd of May, or at the recording of this video, there'll be an insider information stream. This is generally the updates coming into the next week's World of Tanks. I will do a video tomorrow which will feature all of that, and then hopefully you guys will enjoy that. On Tuesday the 4th of May there will be an update rundown special as well, which is Minto Vimto's 1 year at Wargaming, and congratulations to Minto. He's done an absolute fantastic job since he's taken over as the community liaison at Wargaming. Really, really big props to him. Been fantastic, and well done. If you're watching this, obviously I don't know if you will be, but big congratulations. I'd like everyone to, you know, send him a good message. You can do that on the World of Tanks Discord, or you can just message on the forums and say thank you. So hopefully you guys will do that and you do actually appreciate him. He's not the one that actually makes the changes, he's the one that takes your feedback. So remember, don't go abusing him. He's the one that can actually do something about your responses, so don't rant to him saying about certain things that Wargaming have done, because at the end of the day he's there to help you, not actually the one that's doing the changes or doing the things bad that you guys might think. And then finally on the Friday the 7th of May we've got Pain God's painful community update stream for you guys to have a look at. Obviously if you want to tune into that, it will tell you about the kind of things that they're looking at doing every week, and we'll obviously cover that as part of the update news videos that we do on this channel, and hopefully you guys will enjoy. Other than that guys, I hope you had a great day so far, and I hope that you have a great one for the rest of this bank holiday Monday. If you want to check out some more content on the channel, you can do so on screen right now. I've got a few different videos relating to guides and various different content relating to this brand new Modern Tanks update that came in very, very recently. Obviously the Cold War game mode, stuff like that. So if you want to have a look at that, you can. But if you don't, then that's absolutely fine. I hope you guys once again have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.